I'm back! It has been a hot minute since I have been on YouTube. I think it's been almost a year. Actually, probably over a year since I've been on YouTube. I have removed all my old videos because, I don't know, I hate them now. The soap clay that you see me making in this video was actually, it's the same recipe, but I did too much of a water discount and it came out very, very hard. So the one you see at the end that I am actually playing with and testing, that is the recipe that I will release to you guys in this video. A couple things to add. I like to call it soap clay. It just sounds better with my business name. I do use the words soap clay, soap dough interchangeably, so you know, you might hear me say both. It's the same thing. Another little thing quickly is you don't want your soap clay to gel. So I use full water in this recipe and it seemed to be okay. I used to put it in the fridge after I made it. I found that it took a little bit longer to saponify. Yeah, just watch out for that when you make this recipe. Don't let it gel. Keep an eye on it. Make sure it's not getting too hot. If you find it is, chuck it in the fridge. Just give it a little, maybe like an extra day to saponify, and just make sure that all the lye is eaten up by the oils, or vice versa. This is a little bit of an expensive recipe. I wouldn't use it for a whole bar. It does contain a lot of butters, so just keep that in mind. Stay tuned for the end of the video. I will share a couple little tips that I forgot while I was filming. And also, don't mind my hair. There is a big gap between me filming now and when I filmed the making of the soap clay. I had just brushed out my 10-year-old very heavy dreads, so my head was stressed to say the least. So yeah, without too much more chatting, let's get on to making some soap clay. Okay, so here's the stuff that I've got set out. At the start of every collection, I like to think about all the soaps that I'm making and then make a fresh batch of soap for each of them, because I go through a lot. Obviously, your safety gear, so your gloves and goggles, a container for your lye, containers for your oils. That's just titanium dioxide for my white, water. And now these are your molds. So I get these from Kmart. These were $5. I used to use different little square ones, but I like the shape of these better. You can use these, but I found that the wood insulates it quite well and you really don't want your soap to gel. I'm going to use this for one whole batch, and then these are for the colors. I'm just going to mix up my oils and my lye, and I'll bring you guys back. Okay, so I'm just going to get my hard oils into my buckets and melt them in the microwave. So after I melt all my butters and mix all my oils in and mix up my lye, I always make sure that I let it cool down to room temperature. This is really important. You don't want your soap dough to gel. I've had a couple batches gel, and when it does, it goes all flaky. It's kind of hard to explain, but it just makes your work look all cracked and crumbly, and it just doesn't come out nice. Okay, so that's the shea butter. And then I've got cocoa butter. I actually only use this for soap dough. I don't use it in my normal recipes because it's expensive. You want to make sure you're really accurate with measuring everything as well. If you're using the same size batch that I am, I'm making these in 1 kilo batches. Because it's so small, the tiniest you know, mistake or whatever can really throw it off. So you want to make sure that you're, you know, bang on. Now I need coconut oil. Alright, so all my hard butters are in these tubs. I'm just going to melt them in the microwave, and then I'll add my soft oils and let them cool down, and then I'll bring you guys back. So just another quick thing, if your soap dough comes out sticky, you can knock off some of your water and see how that goes. It's good to make really small batches when you're starting out to sort of find what works with your climate, because it can be really finicky stuff, especially when you're making such small batches. Okay, so we've got our oils in here. I've added the soft oils, and just to recap, I will put the recipe on the screen and maybe in the description box, but this is olive oil, coconut oil, cocoa butter, shea butter, and castor oil. I wanted to keep this recipe quite simple, so yeah, I'll add the recipe on the screen and you guys can write it down. And this recipe will not make sense to you if you don't know how to use soap calculator, so go back to the drawing board if you don't know how to do that. You really need to know how to do that before you start making soap. Alright, so all my stuff has finally cooled down. It took forever. Keep in mind, this recipe traces very, very fast because of the high amount of butters in it. So it's not super, super cold as well. It's just at room temperature, maybe just a touch warmer. That should sort of slow it down a little bit. Yeah, you guys can watch me do that, and then I will show you how I do the rest. I'm just gonna add in my lye. As you can see, it traces quite quickly. So I just give it a little bit of a blend and then basically stir it by hand. Okay, so the way I do this, you could mix up all your micas with some of the base oils in, like, say you're doing 3 colors, you could have 3 of these jugs, mix up the micas with some oils so it disperses easier. You can hand mix it in, but what I do, I just fill this up, then I add some mica on top, and then I blend it with a stick blender, and then it goes straight in the mold. You can do it either way. I'm pretty experienced with this now, so I can work quite fast. If you feel more comfortable doing it the other way, whatever you feel comfortable with is fine. I'm going to make yellow first because that's the lightest color, and I don't want my stick blender to get all dirty. So I'm not sure how much these cavities hold, just because I haven't used it before. So let's just go that much. And I'll just start with half a teaspoon. I do want them quite strongly coloured, so I don't mind if I go a bit overboard. I also like using the stick blender with the mica as well. It just gets it really nice and incorporated, nice and even. Good, it's a nice yellow. I go through a lot of yellow because I make a lot of stars and things. So here's my mold. I have given it a bit of a rinse and a dry out, and I'm literally just going to pour it into these cavities. When I'm done filling all these up, I will cover it all in plastic, just Glad wrap. So I have been asked before if you can make like an uncolored batch of soap dough and then add the mica in later, like sort of knead it in later. And my answer to that is it doesn't really work. You're better off planning out what colors you want and just making the batch this way. It doesn't incorporate nice and evenly. So there we go. I'm just going to set this aside and I'm going to do the other colors and wrap them in plastic, and I'll bring you guys back. And again, I'm just using the same jug. I like to do it this way because it's a lot less cleanup, and I hate dishes. So this time I'm using Heartbreaker by Nurture Soap. I've actually been using mostly Nurture Soap lately because I got a big haul from them thanks to Cat and Raven Designs. They sent it over for me. Another thing I've tried that didn't really work was just making the soap dough in the jug and just leaving it in there and letting it set in there. Don't do that. It was an absolute nightmare. Like, I watch it gel like crazy, and it was a nightmare to get out of the jug too. I really like these little cavity molds. They're easy to unmold. Alright, and the last one I'm going to do is red because I want to make some more mushroom hollow soap. But it was so popular, and I was only making 2 loaves at the time when I made that. And this is just some trial by fire. So you can see it is getting quite thick now, so you do need to work fast. That's why if you're not used to this recipe, it might be best to separate it out into separate containers. Okay, so we've got our tray of soap dough here. You can see it's already set up quite a lot. I only poured it maybe 5 minutes ago. And you're just going to get some cling wrap. I like to press it in just so you make sure no air gets to it. And you know, this doesn't need to look nice. It's all going to be mushed up and made into something else. And I'm just going to tuck it under. And there you go. This is going to test your patience. I am the most impatient person in the entire world. If I can do it, you can do it. Leave it in those molds with the plastic covered for a couple of days. Sorry to break it to you. I usually leave mine for about 3 days. Usually I just make it and forget about it because I'm so busy. I've got other things to do. At least 24 hours before you touch it with your hands. Give it a good chance to actually saponify. I'll bring you guys back in 2 days and show you how it is. I think that's it. I think that's it for now. I'll see you guys in 2 days. So it's been 2 days since I made this. I ended up making a different batch to what I originally filmed, but the steps are pretty much the same. This has full water in it, so I didn't put it in the fridge. It didn't seem to gel as easily. So here is the block. You can see my thumbprints because I was sort of testing the hardness of this one. The last batch was a little bit too hard. I think I discounted the water a little bit too much. So I'm just going to pull a bit off and show you guys the texture. So before you use it, you obviously want to condition it. But look at the texture of it. It's so nice. It's not too hard, it's not too soft. The last batch really hurt my hands trying to mold it. This will probably get even better after a couple of days, even a week. So that's the yellow. I'll try the navy blue. This is going to be for my satin return soap. You can see that it's not sticky. It's not sticking to my hands. It's, you know, nice and shiny. It's a nice texture. I found a lot of soap dough tends to get these weird little, I don't know, textured bits. Doesn't look as nice as when it's like nice and shiny like this. So yeah, if you guys use this recipe, please tag me, show me your creations. I do love sharing other people's creations on, you know, my Instagram and stuff. So yeah, thanks for watching. I am hoping to have some more videos out. Definitely not on the same schedule that I used to, but you know, this was really fun. And if you want to see anything else, let me know. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook to see what I actually make with this soap dough. I hand make all of my embeds for all of my soap, so come and find me on there. So that's basically it. Thank you so much for watching. I do have a couple extra tips to share with you guys that I forgot to add in the filming. So if your soap clay comes out sticky, what you can do is discount the water a little bit. I used 38% in this recipe and it came out perfect, but it does depend on your humidity. It depends on your climate. It's very finicky stuff that can change wherever you are in the world. Keep in mind when you make white soap dough that it will have a little bit of extra water content from the titanium dioxide. I've never really had an issue with it having a little bit of extra water because the titanium dioxide seems to balance that out and come out really nice anyway, but just be mindful of that. It might come out a little bit more sticky than you intended it to. If your soap clay is sticky, you can use a little bit of cornstarch while you're molding it, and that should help it not stick to your hands. But this is the best recipe I've ever used. It doesn't stick to my hands at all. It's perfect. I found that I haven't needed to use cornstarch at all. As I said at the beginning, you do not want your soap clay to gel, so if you live in a really hot area or you soap a little bit too hot and you find that it's heating up on you, chuck it in the fridge. Maybe give it a little bit of extra time to saponify, because I've noticed when I have put it in the fridge, it slows it down. I don't know why. I don't know if that's just anecdotal for me, but that's what I've found. So I miss filming this bit, but when you pour the soap clay into the molds, let it sit in the molds covered up for at least 2 days, and then remove them from the molds and wrap them in plastic immediately. And you can store them like this in an airtight container for pretty much indefinitely. Like, I've had some soap clay last months and months and months, and I can just pull it out and use it. As long as the air doesn't get to it, it'll be fine. Any embeds that you make will cure when they are in the air. So you can put completely uncured embeds on your soap. You can make your embeds and let them sit out for a couple of weeks and then put that on your soap. It really doesn't matter. It's going to cure the same anyways. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me. I do get pretty flooded on Instagram, but I will try to get to any questions that I see. If you use this recipe, I would love to see what you make with it. Feel free to tag me. I love to share people's creations on my platform. The whole reason I'm making this video is to give something back to the soap community, because without the support of all of you, I've been in a lot of art communities before. I've tried to start quite a few creative businesses and I've never quite come across people like soapers. It's really heartwarming, and I'm really grateful for all the support and everything that you've given me. So this is just my little way of giving back to you guys and helping you in your creativity and your soap journey. So yeah, if you like it, let me know, and thank you so much for watching. I really enjoyed making this video and I'm really enjoying being back on YouTube. So mwah!